to episode 64 of Broad Street Hustle, coming to you second time this week. We brought you the open podcast earlier. Now we're bringing you some Sixers, some Saratoga lifestyle, the Haskell, and a late pick four from Saratoga. Let's jump into it. I got Jason Sada here with me. How are
Hey,
you,
Tom.
Jason?
How are you?
Good. I got Jimmy the Chalk.
These two show weeks are tough. I might need a nap if we go past 30 minutes.
Yes, you're running out of. You're gonna have to ask Crayola to maybe refill your box chalk up there. We got Christopher Michael Meeker.
What's up, everybody?
What
Meeker's
up?
camera
My
was just doing
camera's
Max
headroom
Max
again.
Headroom
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
Like
Chalky got
The-
the helicopter, and Meeker's is earthquake.
Those who suffer from motion sickness may not want to watch this episode on YouTube, but
And I will give the man his day and a little bit of his day, but without I need him to admit there was a little luck in it. But coming fresh off a Casa Creed victory, Jimmy D, you get a minute to in the spoils of the win.
Thank you. I'll just say this. I believe in the Apostles' Creed. I believe in the Nicene Creed. And I believe in Casa Creed.
And just let me ask, what did Irad do in that race?
Yeah, he believes in some kind of creed too. I read the way he wrote
he
that
took
horse.
a horse that should be close to the lead and had him
He
behind
What-
Casa
what-
Creed at the half
he
pole.
did.
Honestly, what was that?
Louis got the jump on him in that race. And that
Yeah,
really
but why was he back? Why was he behind him at the half
I
pole?
don't know.
I mean,
It should have been.
all I know is that they should have checked him on the scales with whatever bag he had in his hand after he
Yeah.
was leaving the track that day, because that looked
Yeah,
like
that was
I don't know, shady
how you,
ride. But
how you
know.
handicap him
Listen,
riding.
when he comes back and wins the 4-star Dave, you guys are going to have to apologize again.
No question.
Hey, look, you won. Right now. You got the W. So
Yeah, and Tommy, let me tell you something. That's probably the only one I have in 4 days.
yeah, I think I had about one.
Oh, we did terrible in the contest
Oh,
this week.
God.
Yeah, my average price was about 27-1 though in my picks. I mean that was why. But
It wasn't a big week to be that way, Tom, because obviously
There's
they're winning about
couple,
40% that the
But
Chalks
well,
get.
who know? I mean, Linda Rice is at 92% in the money
Yeah,
so far. I mean, that's
Yeah,
real.
she's red hot. Tom. She's red hot.
All right, let's jump into it, and we're gonna go Sixers here, and we're gonna start with Harden. And against my better judgment, I'm gonna let Meeker go first because I know he has some hot takes about James Harden. So I'm gonna let him roll for a change.
Well, in previous podcasts, I told you guys I didn't want to run it back, and I guess we're not going to run it back at this point, given what he is doing. But look, his relationship with Morey has to be fractured at this point, right? So I guess he took the pay cut last year, and he helped him out by taking the pay cut, and now the Sixers and he do not, they're not in agreement of what he's worth at this point. So the Sixers are going to have to make a trade, but this guy has been coddled his entire NBA career. So go get me CP3. Okay, they went and got that. Get me Westbrook. Okay, they went and got that. Trade me to Brooklyn. Okay, he went to Brooklyn. Trade me to the Sixers. Okay, he went to the Sixers. Now we want to go to the Clippers. I mean, where does it end with this guy? In the latter parts of his career, he's been coddled. And to me, I mean, at this point in his career, he's just a name. And I understand his perspective of wanting to go to LA because, all right, so LA is building a new arena. They have two, stars, I guess you would call them, on their team with Kawhi and PG. And he wants to go there and try and win a championship in like a one and done kind of situation. And maybe from his perspective, that's the best way. That's the best place to go at this point. But the West is way different from the East. I mean, don't you think he has a better shot if he really wants to win? Doesn't he have a better shot at staying here in the East? An 8th seed just went to the NBA Finals in the Miami Heat. So he goes to the West with all those good teams out West, and he thinks he's going to win with other 32-year-old guys, 2 of which barely stay on the court. Like, I don't know what's really going through his head in terms of what he thinks the best thing for him is. But, I mean, if it just came down to the money part and they just can't come to an agreement on the contract and the money, I mean, I don't know how far apart they are because it hasn't really been publicized.
No.
Has it been publicized?
No.
I mean, has it? But I guess that's where we're at right now. And, you know, it just puts the Sixers in a pretty bad situation at this point because I think that there's like minimal trades that they can do, some of which I wouldn't have that much of a problem with so far that I've heard. I mean, the trade to the Clippers where they get Powell back, and
But they're not getting that back. That's
well,
the problem.
Terrence Mann, they don't want to trade Terrence Mann, so I heard that. So
Right.
they're not going to get a young player back. You trade him to Miami, maybe you get Lowry and Duncan Robinson
They
back.
don't want them.
Right. I mean, you go on and on. Like, it's going to drag out, and it's just not a great start to a new coach's tenure here. I don't know if that had anything to do with why he's deciding to do what he's doing. I don't know if it came on the heels of them hiring Nick Nurse. Probably.
No,
It just comes down to It just comes down to the money.
Money and years.
There's two things,
But before I turn it to Jason, Meeker cleaned it up a little bit, but here was the text that we got. His whole career, this MFer has been coddled. Trade me here, trade me there. Get me this player, get me that player. Let me go to a strip club. Loser. So that was the actual text from Meeker.
That is the text
about Harden. So he
did he want to punch him in the face though?
He wanted to punch him in the face. Too. I mean,
that was
not in that particular one. I'm sure there's another one that was a punch in the face.
He's the majority reason why we didn't get by the Celtics, and now we have to deal with this nonsense going into next year and Nick Nurse's first year coaching. Now we're scrambling around. And Morey said, and he's right in saying it. I mean, we're going to take our time with this, and we're going to get the best deal for us. We're not just going to trade him to the Clippers because that's where he wants to go. At this point, it's all fractured. He's not going to come back. I don't think that's happening. I don't think he's going to play on a one-year contract, nor would the Sixers want him to, especially if he's disgruntled.
All right. Well, I got Jason's screen isn't as shaky as Meeker's, but he is moving back and forth because he's jumping out of his seat to say something. So I'll turn to Jason.
It's not anything that Meeker's saying wrong. It's just my take is the Sixers really don't want him, so they're lowballing him. Okay, now nobody wants him except the Clippers, and the Clippers know that nobody wants him. So the Clippers are saying we'll give you Marcus Morris, right, who's expiring, which is fine.
Right.
But we're not giving you anything else. And the Sixers want Terrence Mann. They want draft picks. They want other things. And
they don't have that either. Clippers. They don't have
Clippers aren't doing it. Yeah. And Morey's like, okay, well, then we'll keep Harden for now. Like, I'm not just going to give in and give you Harden for Marcus Morris. We'll let Harden expire here instead of giving you Harden and let Marcus Morris. I mean, he's an okay player, Marcus Morris, but they should be getting more back for Harden if you're trading him James Harden. So the whole thing is the Clippers have the Sixers by the balls because they know there's no other team. Miami doesn't want him. They don't want him. Nobody wants him except the Clippers. The problem this all stems from, Houston originally wanted him before they got Udoka. Udoka came in and said, we don't want James Harden. I don't want James Harden here. So that's why they went out and gave all that money to the Raptors guard.
Van Vliet.
Van Vliet, yeah.
Van Vliet. And that dried up the whole landscape of who wants Harden. So it's an impasse right now, and I don't blame Morey one bit. For not giving in. Just let him.
It's Ben Simmons again. Like, wow, you don't just move him to get, like you said, Mars. How does that help you? That doesn't help you whatsoever. No. So you roll the dice. Maybe somebody else, maybe a team does come along, or maybe they don't. But what's the difference? I mean, you're in the same boat either way. Right. So just let them rot. Chalky.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the Sixers aren't really bargaining from a strong position as far as bidders, but I also don't think there's any reason they have to move right now. So, maybe Clippers have leverage at this point, but if they really want him, they're either, can make a better offer or they can sit and wait. And I mean, I don't know that he'll play again, but he's never held out before to where he's missed part of the season. Like, he'll come in out of shape like he did in Houston, or he'll start to say, well, I'm kind of hurt in Brooklyn, but unless the tenure changes as far as what people are willing to offer for him, I don't see this getting resolved before the start of training camp. So I think he's still on the roster when they go to training camp. because really, if you're the Sixers, what's your incentive to trade him for nothing? If he's either going to come back and play, which we don't think he's going to do. He's going to sit out or force a way to sit out, in which case your team's not getting better, it's getting worse, or you're going to trade him for nothing and where your team still gets worse. So if you're going to be worse either way, why trade him now? You might as well let it sit. Maybe somebody gets hurt on another team. Maybe the Clippers don't gel the way they hope to with this, and they get a little more desperate. It's like, all right, look, Leonard and George both have wonky knees. We'll give you Terrence Mann because we think this might be our last chance, like for this year, or picks or whatever. So, if you're trying to maximize Embiid's window, if letting him go for nothing means you're not going to win this year, then you have no incentive to trade him now for nothing or wait till the deadline for nothing. So,
if you think that guy was a dog last year, imagine what he's going to be pissed off this year.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, too, if he's really trying to force his way out and he's a dog, that's not going to bring his value up or his desirability to other teams. So maybe the Clippers aren't even going to, if the Clippers get off to a hot start or something and he's dogging it, maybe they're like, you know what, we don't need you. So then he's either got to play better and contribute to the team, or he can try to sit and, he gets that money. I mean, it comes down to nobody else wanted to give him years or the salary. That's why we didn't even talk about him opting in because we didn't think it was going to be possible, right? I mean, ideally, if he was going to play as hard as him, opting in is probably your best case for the Sixers because his contract is still at a lower number. You get one more year to run it back, and if it falls apart in the playoffs again, you got him and Harris coming off the books next year. That's not the scenario we're looking at because he's apparently not going to play or whatever. He doesn't want to play again, but I don't see this. Morey's going to play hardball like he did with Simmons. He's going to ask for the sun, the moon, the stars, settle for somewhere less potentially, but he's not just going to hand him over to somebody else right now and not make the team better. If you're going to lose this year, might as well make him sit and see if anything changes for a while. So
yeah, Jason said the Sixers are the impasse, which is 100%, but so is Harden. I mean, he really isn't in any bargaining position.
If he had a market, he would have opted out and signed as a free agent somewhere else. He opted in at what he said was a discount from last year, which means nobody was willing to pay him more this year or give him the number of years he wanted, including the Sixers.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy D, any thoughts on it?
My thoughts are, I don't know if the organization is just unlucky or cursed. I mean, we're in the same situation of this Ben Simmons. You're held hostage by a player. This organization is really weird. They wanted a practice center and they wind up in Camden, New Jersey. Now they want an arena in Center City in an area that's been an absolute insomnia. I just don't understand their reasoning, but a guy like Harden at 34 years old, he's on the back end of his career. It's just a shame that he puts his team through this because it bodes for a 2023-24 season that's going to be deplorable.
Yeah, I mean, not much more to add. What about
There's
what
something
about
in the new CBA. I heard this today, but I don't know the details of it about players sitting out. And I don't know exactly what it diminishes them from being able to do if they sit out. And it has something to do with 30 days past the beginning of training camp if they sit out for a certain period of time.
Yeah, but he'll do what Simmons show up with a cell phone at practice.
He'll do whatever's necessary.
Yeah, I mean, so he don't care.
I also don't know if that kicks in this year or not. Some of the CBA stuff does kick in this year. Some of the stuff kicks in 2-3 years down the line. I mean, Simmons got some of that money back, but he didn't get most of it. It sounds like. So I think they're a little more, and the rest of the league didn't want him to get anything back. So I think the league is going to object to having him get paid for sitting around.
Yeah, but
all he's going to say is I hurt my hamstring,
he
did
in
Brooklyn.
He didn't play. That was the difference. Harden will show up.
Oh, Harden will dog it. He'll show up and dog it.
He'll go out there if you set
he'll
set
play
him out
one every 4 games good, and then the other 3 games he'll
shoot
but the difference, and he didn't really dog it in Brooklyn on the court. It was more of just he wasn't suiting up. Like he probably had legitimate thing with the hamstring, but he was done with Brooklyn at that point. In Houston, he was still closer to James Harden that we knew. And he really, once he got traded to the Nets, he was having almost an MVP caliber season. at that point. He's not that same guy anymore. So I think him coming out the same way like he did in Houston is not going to help his value. Now, if he just wants to be stubborn and do that, so be it. But if he's going to encourage somebody else, namely LA or whoever, to up their offer to get him off this roster, him taking that route is not going to help him one bit, because this isn't the guy that's coming off of recent MVP seasons. He's a different guy than he was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or whatever. So he's only going to hurt himself.
You're not speaking of highly intelligent people here. I mean, he's like he's that's what he's gonna do. He doesn't worry about his value. What about Embiid? Anything there, Jason? We were talking about Embiid's comments, saying I'll win here if it has to be somewhere else, or however he phrased it.
Yeah, I just think it's WIP. It's the middle of July, and the Phillies are on we're on a 3-game winning streak. So there's nothing to complain about there. And the Eagles didn't start yet, and the Flyers are done. Obviously it's the middle of the summer, so you need to drum up some kind of controversy to get people to call in. And Embiid.
So they made up the comment.
They make it up. Embiid says something stupid once a week. I mean, that's just what Embiid does. So, and he
said it like at an interview that was on tape. That's
fine, but to me, it's a lot. It's a lot to do about nothing, and they all do it anyway. Any star in the NBA wants to eventually win. So what's he in his 8th season or whatever it is now, and he's going to be 30 or he is 30. I don't even know, but they all start saying stuff like that. All right, well, maybe it's legitimate. Maybe in a year or two or whatever, if they're still not winning, he's going to want out.
Yeah,
I don't blame him.
That's what I think. It's not like this year he's saying I want to get out or he's going to dog it, but he did. It's just It's just one of those things that's stupid to say.
Yeah, it's stupid, but he says something stupid once a week. Like I said, when doesn't he say something stupid?
Chalky.
I mean, I think it's much ado about nothing right now. I mean, he said it, but would you rather have him say whatever Lillard was saying 2 years ago? I just want to win MVP. I never want to be. Portland's my home or whatever. Now he's like, oh, I want out, and I'm only going to Miami. So we had a little bit of a break where he wasn't tweeting stuff every other day. But when they had that rough season in 1920, he was like, I guess whatever the quote from Batman is, like, if you're a hero long enough, you turn to the villain or whatever. It's like no, they're playing like garbage. Nobody was trying to run him out of town. Come on, let's cool it down a little bit. And then he said, he became a better person when he became a father. But so I don't think he was trying to stir up trouble or be a troll. But I mean, he wants to win at some point. And just because he didn't say, I want to win and it can only be in Philadelphia, doesn't make me worried as a fan of the team. It's like, yeah, if they stink in 3 years, I don't blame him if he wants to go somewhere else. Like, No,
it's just another example, though, of his leadership and lack thereof. He's just not. He's not that player, and he's not going to be that player.
No,
Tom. I think he's just immature. He's
over and over again. He's immature. How old is he now? He's
a 30-year-old immature guy.
Always immature.
Don't make a statement like that now. You know what I mean? This team is in turmoil as it is. You don't need your star player to say something like that.
Right.
That's what he does. You're right. I agree with these guys.
So what do the Sixers do? All right, say Harden is whatever. I don't know what they do with him, or he's fat, he comes in. So do they roll with the team they have? Is Harris still a guy that needs to get moved or going to get moved? Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I think Harris now has become an asset, right? Because now you have an expiring contract to move. What you have to think about now is, okay, there's teams out there that are willing to trade you something for it, but are you willing to take on salary of a guy who's a good player but's got a bad contract? It might be a better fit here than Harris, but he's got a bad contract. Or, do you just let Harris expire and then have that slot for next year? I mean, that's the kind of stuff they have to think about. A lot of it's going to depend on what they do with Harden. If they get a player that can contribute this year for Harden, maybe you do trade Harris for another guy that's going to contribute and you go for it this year, or you just have 2 slots next year that, you could go out. Siakam is going to be a free agent next year. Maybe you do something with Toronto and you get OG and Siakam, and, Obviously, Siakam and Embiid are tight. I don't know. I mean, I think a lot's going to depend on Harden, but Harris again is a tradable commodity now for me.
How about you, Chalky?
I think he's tradable if you can work something where you're going 3 or 4 ways in a deal that includes Harden that sort of ups your haul coming back. I think until you know what's going to happen with Harden, you don't move him unless you're getting a better player back, which might be tough. I mean, we were talking about moving Harris for a couple lesser but more complementary pieces for the stars we have, and now you have Harden that may not play, and then you're going to lose Harris, so you're down to Maxey and Embiid as your best players, and unless Maxey takes another huge step forward, that's not going to be a contender by any means. So, Zach LaVine was a name that was mentioned out of Chicago. I like him a lot, but he's got his flaws. But is Maxey, LaVine, and Embiid a better setup? Well, they might score some more points than the crew they have now, but your defense is going to take a hit. And with the Harden, I mean, if you don't bring back somebody that's going to be a facilitator, then you got a huge hole there because say what you want, he led the league in assists per game last year, and Maxey can play some, but I don't have faith in him as being a lead point guard for a full season. I know Jason doesn't from previous discussions we had on here. So there's going to be less opportunity for him, less opportunity for everybody on the team, unless they can bring somebody in Harden's place that can get the ball around. And I mean, I don't even have a name that I would suggest for that. I don't think there's nobody on the team right now. So you're taking a step back. So if you want to be respectable, I think you got to hold on to Harris unless you get a really good deal.
Meeker?
No, I just think it's like the same situation we had when Iverson was here, and we're always trying to find that other piece, to pair up with Embiid, and it'll be like this vicious circle for the next 3 or 4 years, or however long Embiid's still here. And I agree with these guys. They're like, okay, you can try and get Zach LaVine in a trade, but I'm not really sure if it really helps you. You're right. Harris is a more attractive trade piece than he used to be because he's an expiring contract, but you're just going to get garbage back, or maybe something more complimentary, like you're saying, that fits a different need, like a spot-up shooter that they need. Yeah, I mean, it does. It's held up right now. Everything is held up on the heels of what they can do with Harden. They have a roster spot right now that's open that they haven't filled yet, obviously because they think that they're going to get 2 players back in a Harden trade. So they're going to have to wait until they figure that out before they decide what they could possibly do with Harris before the season starts.
Yeah, it's just tough because you don't want to lose that expiring contract for a bad contract of a guy who doesn't put you over the top to win a championship, which is probably what's likely, right? Whoever you get back for Harris. So now you do that, you move Harris, you get somebody back, and now you lost that expiring contract for next year. Now, I don't know who's out there next year to utilize it on, but unfortunately, yeah, you almost have to just roll with Harris for now until do I have another piece with Embiid, and if I move Harris for a better fit, does that put me over the top? But if the answer is no, then you just gotta roll with them and let them expire, and then have that for next year.
Yeah, I think you can't. Just one thing I forgot to mention. I don't think you can waste a Harris trade because with the new CBA kicking in, like they intentionally did not extend Maxey yet because they're trying to see what they can do with the cap and the contracts before next year when they can still extend them, but get some and. That contract is valuable. So if you trade him for nothing of value, you're going to have a Maxey extension kick in, which is going to limit your ability to go in and get anybody else of big value, even with losing a Harden contract and a Harris contract and the triple tax or whatever it's going to be. So this is, if they can do something this year that brings in another bigger contract, if possible, it buys them an extra year before some of these stiffer penalties kick in. So you can't just waste them for a couple of role players. But again, who can you get that fits that? I don't know, but the parameters are changing with the new CBA.
Yeah, I didn't follow much of that. I got to be quite honest with you. Jimmy D?
I think you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Entire division's getting better, younger, and you're getting older and slower. This could be start of the process part 2.
Well, they do have a draft pick, I believe, this year. So maybe this is the year to tank.
Hey,
tank this year.
They signed Turk Smith as a free agent. You guys see what he did in the. in the summer league.
If you're going to struggle,
Nah.
this is the year.
Or they better send every one of their scouts to Serbia, one or the other.
Yeah, why don't they come up with one of these? Like,
We never do, Jay. We never do.
it's amazing that one star that got signed. I forget who signed them. Was it San Antonio? Maybe Chalky. Who signed the star from the Euro star? He was like the MVP of the Euro League, or you don't know either.
I do not know.
Somebody in the West signed him, and I'm like, he's probably a stretch for who could shoot because all those guys could, and he would be perfect here. And they didn't.
Well, we got Philippe Petrusev or whatever coming over.
They also have 4 centers now on the roster for some.
Yes. So they brought back Harrell and
they're going back. They're going back to the
and Mobamba.
The Twin Towers they're gonna have.
They're just going to
Yeah, when everybody's going right, Sixers are going left.
Yeah,
And
maybe
it's
that's
really
what
everybody's getting smaller. We finally got the big man, and we can't do anything.
Maybe it's.
I mean, they might just be hammering guys. I don't know. They got that flop rule now. I'm going to make the most of it.
24 fails.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but as this keeps going, talk about free agents for next year. I mean, it's not going to be an attractive place to come. The situation has made it very unattractive. Even if you did sign Harden to 3 years, I mean, if you did, not now. I'm not talking about now. If they did that before all this garbage happened, then it might be a little bit more of an attractive place for someone to come. With this nonsense going on right now, I mean, you're going to be hard-pressed to be able to sign a top-flight free agent next year.
I think next year's a different situation. I mean, if, it's too early to predict, but, Harden wanting out and all that, I don't think is a negative. But, if Maxey has another really good year, maybe it's worth it to come play with him and Embiid.
The thing with the free agents that want to sign here, though, I don't even think it matters the players that are on the team. People want to go to Florida and not pay sales tax. They want to go to Texas. Yeah. They want to, and that's what players rather do. Like, why is San Antonio attract? You know what I mean? Why? Because they're another non-taxable state or whatever, sales tax state, or Miami is without, and people don't want to come to Philadelphia because
I don't disagree with that.
So the players, I don't know how much that even matters.
I want to play for the Delaware Blue Hens, though. That's another good state tax-wise.
Yeah. Yep, I believe that's owned by Chase. I can get some tickets anytime anybody wants tickets. I get
nice.
5 tickets to every game.
We'd be the only 5 people there.
It's
I
possible.
Use those for my realtor partners.
Defending champions.
Talk about that.
Are they?
Yeah, they won. They did win.
They won this year.
All right, I think we can put a bow on the Sixers, right? Anybody else have anything else to add? Meeker, you're welcome to stay, but you are. If not, did you have any lasting words about the Sixers before you depart?
I think we covered it. Unfortunately, I couldn't read back the text the way I wanted to here on the podcast.
But Meeker is famous in Saratoga. Didn't you get thrown out of or you got in a fight with somebody in the bar? I remember one night, you and Omar, didn't you?
Not in Saratoga.
A girl, I forget the story, but
I got tossed out of, was it
Gaffney's?
Gaffney's? Yeah, I think I got thrown out of
Was it
there.
Gaffney's you got thrown out of?
What'd you do?
I used the sink for reasons that sinks aren't supposed to be used for.
Stadium toilet.
That could do it.
So I can't remember.
Well, it's a little. It's not quite R-rated, but it's definitely not PG. So I don't know if we can tell the whole story.
Nah, let's leave it. Let's leave it at that. All right, let's say goodbye to Meeker.
Goodbye,
Farewell.
Meeker.
And we will move on to Saratoga Lifestyle. I think we brought you this show last year. And Jimmy D was the one that brought it to us last year. So we're going to do it again. I'll leave it open-ended with what's going on in Saratoga. What's new in Saratoga, I should say, with the lifestyle.
Well, Saratoga has a lot of nicknames, Tom. And I think this year is going to be home of the $23 pastrami sandwich. They upped the prices to get in. The program's now $7. The pastrami really is $23. The beer is $12. Times they are changing in Saratoga.
That's at the track? That's
at the track.
Wow.
It's just a little bit different. They've included more box seats, the box seating up there. They got the 1863 room now, which is, that is your luxury box of Saratoga, and that's $150 to get in with no food. You can also get a panel down the track. Monmouth has these also, where you can rent a section off the apron at the top of the stretch, and that's $450 to start. If you want to put drink or food in there, then everything's extra.
So that's $450
So
a person, Jim, or is that $450
no,
for
that's
like the section?
$450 for this particular.
Yeah, I think we did. Is that what we had at the Haskell gym that one year?
I think I know you're talking to Jimmy the Chalk.
Yeah.
But yes, the Monmouth has the same type.
Yeah,
of
I think we did
Yeah.
that at the
These
Haskell
are
the one year.
these are the ones. I don't know. It was Jason. We saw it on TV, and we were talking about it like last year.
Okay.
Those sections down the
Yes. I
top of the
remember.
stretch. I forget what they're called.
Yeah, they're
but yeah.
definitely. I mean, for years they've been squeezing the the $2 bettors out and the the
But
giveaway guys.
you get in the
and
clubhouse for free now.
Yeah.
There's
They
no
do.
upcharge for the clubhouse.
It's one entrance now, and they let you into any section of the track.
Well, that's only because they put the luxury.
Right.
There's so much other luxury now that the scum can go to the clubhouse.
true.
It's just that
God knows what's in the grandstand.
Oh, jeez.
you know,
Riff-raff,
I
the
told you
Cowboys.
guys earlier that I blew off the track to go to a pool today, and Jimmy the Chalk. I don't know if I've ever drugged you to this pool, but it's called the Peerless Pool. And if you're under the impression that Saratoga is the lifestyle of the rich and famous, just go to this pool because it's. I hate to say this on a podcast, but it's inbred city there. I mean,
Jeez.
it's scary. It's my friend used to have a comment from that. It's me mother, me brother, me sister, and it's really the truth because Saratoga itself is one thing, but Saratoga County now you're taking in Schuylerville, Wilton, you're taking in all these Boston.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that getting locals? That's not getting the tourists going to this type of place.
That's right, Tom. That's right, and it's keeping a lot of people away. Now tomorrow they got a thing. It's a spinning day. A spinning day used to be very famous because what they did is up the attendance of the track by you had to come in and out if you wanted the gift because they offer a gift. Tomorrow it's a cooler giveaway. They used to do this on Sundays and really bring a lot of the locals out. And now, at $10 a pop, I don't know, you probably can get a cooler at Ross for just about $10.
So you would get the cooler for 10, but not admission to the track, and then you'd have to turn around and go back.
No, it would happen. You could stay there, tickets. But if guys wanted numerous amounts of coolers or whatever prize they were giving away, they would go in and they'd literally have to spin.
And
get the attendance figure up. So that would always increase. And a normal day that might have a nice crowd of 20,000, 25, you'll wind up with 70,000 because people are coming in 4, 5, 6 times. And some of them, they come in 20 times and they put it on eBay an hour later. So, that was always a little novelty up the track. The high rollers hated it because all it did was crowd the gates. And even now that they let you into the clubhouse, there's certain sections of the clubhouse you can't get in because, the suits say, we don't want to see those people near us. And, maybe you can't blame them. I don't know. They're betting hundreds of dollars. And, the locals are just local. They're coming in with shorts, tank top. They look like shit. And that's what they got in their pocket. But it's changing. It's really changing, and it's not always for the better for me. And Jimmy Chalk knows this because he was with me many, many times at Saratoga in the early years. And it was just a lot different. The feel of the track was a lot different. And let me tell you something. The first week, and I'm only going to judge the first 4 days. I don't have attendance figures for Wednesday or today. But in opening week, the first 4 days, attendance was down. Handle was down. They've got 2 rainouts almost. The fields are short. The entries were 10 and 11 horses, and 4 or 5 were coming out every day, rain or not. And then when they got the monsoons, because it can really rain here, those fields were 3, 4, and 5, and absolutely no value in those races. And what they do, they take a race like the Diana on Saturday, which by the way White Beam stole that race. But they put it the 3rd or 4th race of the day because they don't want it as part of the pick 6 or the pick 5.
Yeah, and didn't help. Brown had 4 of the 5 horses.
Yeah, and Tom, they make.
And then he's got 5 of the 7 horses in there.
Yeah, and they'll tell you he's won this race the last 6 years in a row. Well, I guess you would if you got
He's
every horse
had,
in the race.
I think he's had 20 of the 33 entries in the last like 4 years or
It's
something like that.
ridiculous.
And they kowtow to him, Tom. They write races for him for
Oh,
that
of course.
reason. Because if he pulls away, him and Pletcher, they have nothing
Yeah,
here.
they don't have
They
races.
they
So
wouldn't
what
have races.
about Saturday? So the Saturday was a nice day. It was the weekend. Did you noticeably smaller attendance as well, or?
Well, that Saturday they had 22, I think, 22,000. It was a nice crowd that day, but it was a beautiful day. The humidity's been really hot. It's been oppressive here. That's another thing they get in July that they don't get in August. It's really hot, and a lot of the older people just don't want to come out into that. You can understand that too. So I think that kind of evens out as the year goes on. But they're off to a slow start. I'll tell you that much. And that's not your typical Saratoga. Unlike Linda Rice, who's off to a quick start. She's got 7 wins in that first 4 days. She's using Jose, who's got a rebirth here. He's and you guys earlier off the broadcast had made a couple comments about his brother Irad in a particularly questionable ride. He has not been very good here. Between him and Joel Rosario, Rosario is really in a funk. He's won a couple lately, but he's really been in some sort of horrible funk. And I don't know if Irad's trying to change his racing style because he's been criticized so much for the aggressive riding, and he's been, it's all over the papers here. And so I don't know if he's laying back a little bit, and I saw him in a screaming match with Todd Pletcher after one of those races, and he wasn't doing the screaming; it was Pletcher, just because he didn't think he put the horse in the right position. And this is not Annapolis that I'm talking. I'm talking another horse, but. Again, we'll see. It's only the first 4 days. I don't want to be too judgmental.
Yeah, it's fun. I remember even last year, like Irad gets off and he's slow, and you think he's not winning races, but Wednesdays and Thursdays, then he winds up winning 7 races. Then you look at the standings, and he's
Yeah.
second or third or first,
Yeah.
and then
And Tom, it's because
then
of
it
something that you
continues from
said.
there.
Because it'll be a race. It'll be the 7th race of the day. There'll be 6 or 7 horses in it. Brown's got 3 of them, and he's got the chalk of Brown.
Yeah, right.
He wins. He steals that race all the time. So consequently, he's always going to be up there in driver's,
absolutely.
jockey standings. He's got to. He almost has to be. But now Linda Rice is really using. It's almost a tip off anymore. She uses Jose on all her good stock. And I know you were saying about, and I checked it out, that she was running out of some conditions, but she saved a couple. It's my opinion that some of the, it's at least what I heard, some of that stock that she purchased in Churchill, she did not run yet at Belmont.
Yeah, but she's not even. It's like she's moving up conditions and still with. She's taking 30 claimers, winning 50s at 30 from a Belmont and winning 50 at Saratoga.
She's got a horse. We'll talk about it in a quick four when we get there. But it's just exactly what you're saying. It's a horse that's really on the improve against a bunch of expensive older horses.
Was one of the races we covered last week. I think it was the maiden claim to start the pick four. Where we said it was it was a state bred maiden special weight. Mm-hmm. It was a tough race. I know Irad scratched in that race, but and somehow her horse goes off as the favorite. The horse takes the lead. The horse re-breaks and wins the race easily as the favorite. And it was like nowhere on paper did the horse ever run that way. No, and it's like, come on, that's where you start to question these races. Like,
I question them all the time.
You get a 50 claimer and you drop him to 25 who has speed, and okay, fine, they're trying to win races. I get it, but those types of races, that's when you got to question it. And then, she's not. She was. I don't know what she did today, but she was 14 to 16 in the money so far.
Oh yeah. I don't know what she did today either, but
I know she won one race today. But come on.
Yeah, and she's not even winning all the money. The money's still going to Brown. Brown won. I think if I had the figure in front of me, it's $650,000 in his first week. But usually Brown comes out of Saratoga's meet with almost $3 million. And he's off to that kind of start this year. And between him and Pletcher, they take down about $6 or $7 million of the purse money. Linda never does that, but she got $340,000 last week, so I guess that's not bad.
All right. So why don't we? I guess right before we jump to the races, real quick, any special places to eat that you've popped up besides the $23 pastrami?
Yeah, there's some great places to eat out here. There's a place called 550 now that's right on the lake. They opened it up last year. It's beautiful. I don't know if you guys were up here. I don't know if you checked it
Didn't
out.
we? Didn't we almost go to that place? Or
It
is
was
And
that
like
we,
an hour. Yeah, it was like a
yeah,
delay, wait, and then we
Yeah,
left,
yeah,
and
well,
then they.
it's everything. Listen to me. They got Asterio Danny up here. He's the hottest place in Saratoga. Well, him and Sabalo are the hottest places in Saratoga. You can't get a reservation, but again, you can't get a reservation because every trainer has got reservations every night. So anyone that they want to send there, they send there. So unless you're connected somehow or
Yeah, well,
another,
that's
it's hard.
Salavo is connected with the couple guy, one of the Fox analysts. So
Yeah.
It
it's
is, and
yeah,
Jonathan Kitchen just married the daughter there.
yeah, that's who I was referring to.
Yeah,
hmm.
welcome to the Italian family, Jonathan. I'm
All
sure
right.
they're glad
Well,
to have
if
you.
that didn't get you pumped up for our next segment, which is handicapping the races, I don't know what is. So let's jump into it. Before we're gonna take a step away from Saratoga quickly to cover the Grade One Haskell, which is Monmouth's big race of the meet. Um, we got 8 horses. We don't have to dwell on them. We'll move quickly, but we do have the Derby winner coming back after dud performance in the Preakness. So let's jump right into it. I'll start with you, Jason. Monmouth Haskell. What's your top pick here?
Yeah, I actually thought this race was kind of competitive. I think the one Go Rocket Ride and obviously Baffert's horse, the Arabian Night, are going to go to the lead and they might duke it out. Um, I like two horses. You're going to ask me to pick one for now, and I'll come back and give you the other one later. I'm going to go with the Cox horse as my top pick, barely, because I like the other one almost as much. But I'm going to go 3 Salute the Stars. I think he could sit off of the of both of the speed horses. If you look at his races, like he really moved up when once he left Ortiz and joined Cox and started running on dirt instead of turf. So he made a big move. You look at the Theragraph to a 1 in the last race. If he improves off of that, I don't even think anyone else has run a 1. Oh, maybe Tappa Choice did, but I think he's got a lot of potential. He's got, he's got a lot. He's third off the layoff. I think he could. He's won at Monmouth. I think he could win the race. So I'll make him slightly my top pick.
All right, Chalky, you going with your boy here?
Top pick is not a value pick, but if he stays healthy the rest of the way, your 3-year-old Eclipse winner is running in this race, and that is Arabian Night. Has dusted the 2 fields. He's very easily, without much effort. Tommy and I saw him live in the Breeders' Cup undercard, and then he beat some other stakes caliber horses in Oaklawn. Or any of them world beaters, no, but nobody else in this 3-year-old crop is. So, top pick is Arabian Night. He'll take this to PA Derby and hit the board in the Breeders' Cup and win the 3-year-old of the year.
Jimmy D.
It's pretty confidently said, Chalky. I think the top pick is sitting in Saratoga's barn right now. I opted out of the Haskell and will run in the Jim Dandy, but we'll save that. I like a horse. I freelance once in a while for a paper out here who does stable tours, and they ask trainers about horses, and you get some insight that way. Um, I like Extra Anijo.
That's my
It's
other horse.
it's
Yeah.
it's Asmussen's horse. I made a comment last week, which wound up being a foolish comment, that Asmussen said that Gold Sweep was his best 2-year-old. Obviously, that 2-year-old went down to his knees after he got out of the gate, and he still chased home. He got second. It was comparable, but in that particular race, he wasn't used very hard because he knew he was compromised his chances. Well, Asmussen says that this Extra Anajo is his best 3-year-old. He took Rachel over to win the Haskell a few years back. This horse is going to be 5-1. They're going to bet Arabian Night. They're going to bet Mage, and they're going to bet Tappa Trice. So I think you can get a little value here. And I think I'm going just the opposite of you, Jason, because I kind of like the 1 coming back. So I think there's a little bit a little bit of a price in the Haskell this year.
All right, and my top pick is Arabian Night as well. I think the horse dusts the field. To be honest, this is Haskell's race to win every single year. I think he's got a legit monster here coming back. They've been
You mean
handling with
Baffert? Yeah.
kids gloves after, or who'd I say?
Haskell.
Haskell.
He's
Well,
out
they're going to rename the race to Baffert, and Haskell's going to have to run a horse to get the name back.
And
Listen,
Baffert, any chance he gets to stick it to some, that he wins, is he's going to take it.
He's won 9 of them
So
so far, so it's hard to argue against.
Yeah. So go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, can you imagine Jim this year when he goes up to the spot and he wins I still call it the King's Bishop with Arabian Lion, and then wins the Travers with Arabian Knight? They'll have a conniption, but
That's exactly right. They fear him, Chalky, but he owns the place, buddy. He owns it.
Yeah, and that's so I got him on the winning this race, and then Jason will go back. Any other thoughts?
Just extra Neho, the horse that Jimmy D likes. I like him almost as much as I like Salute the Stars. I've heard a lot of good things about that horse. I think he's another horse that can move up, and I don't know. I was just against the favorites here, so I was taking a shot with those two.
Yeah, and that's actually who I was referring to when I said Chalky, your boy, because I remember many pods ago, Extra Neho was one of the horses you talked about. Maybe it was
Really?
Chalky did. Yeah. Maybe it was a future pick or talking about.
Yeah,
oh yeah, he was considered. He was the top. Was he the one that was? Yeah, he was the top horse in the barn, and he couldn't make the trail on time because he got hurt.
Yeah, we definitely discussed this horse. I know for sure.
Yeah,
Did you have any other thoughts besides Arabian Night on your side?
I mean, the only other horse I would say to maybe win, Go Rocket Ride. You read the notes. Mandela only came in once for this race, and he won it. Blah blah blah. But man, Mandela doesn't ship out of California hardly ever, and he actually had a 13-year drought from 2006 to 2019 where he didn't win a single stakes race outside of California and barely went outside of it. And he hasn't had a lot of good 3-year-olds. Omaha Beach missed the Derby that one year, so if he's sending him to Monmouth, I mean, I will give that a little respect, but I would probably look to play like a try with maybe Arabian Night, keeping the chalk out of the middle, Go Rocket Ride, Salute the Stars, and Extra Neho, and then maybe Key Tapatrice third, because he'll probably clunk up, but he can't win. And you keep Mage off the board.
Yeah, Mage, I mean, they've been honest and said this is totally a prep race, so take that for what it is. Jimmy D, any thoughts besides the
it is beautiful when a prep race runs for $1 million, and it's just a prep. So I wish I played in that ballpark, but I don't. But I kind of invertedly, like what Jason had said earlier, I like that Go Rocket Ride. So that's about it. And I guess we're not saying much about Tapit Trice. I like that horse throughout the Derby, but I don't know. I don't like the way he's training now. I'm not strong on him.
Yeah, I actually like Tapit Trice a little bit for second. I thought he was the most likely
he's a board horse
to hit second.
Yeah,
he's not a horse.
Yeah, that Extra Neho. I mean, if you want to go off of the storylines, but sitting off a slow pace and a speed favoring track that does nothing for me with his comeback race, one of his comeback races.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wasn't clever. I mean, I think Arabian Night takes it, and Tapit Trice is second or third, and maybe figure out something there. So, all right, let's move to Saratoga. We are covering the late pick 4, which is scheduled for 5:02 Eastern time. Just a little disclaimer that Jimmy D told us that they're expected to get some heavy rains tomorrow, so it could affect the turf racing on Saturday. So keep that in mind, because we do have this was
so heavy rains, right? Friday, tomorrow.
Friday, yeah, and a effect race Saturday, right? This is the only race in the sequence that's on the turf, I believe.
Yeah,
but it is a optional claim, so it's not a stakes race, meaning they would be quicker to take it off the turf rather than keep it on if it was a stakes race. But we're gonna have to handicap it as if it's a turf race, as if the MTOs aren't in the race, and go from there and take it for what it is. Chalky, we'll start with you. mile and a 16th optional claim. Non-winners are 2.
Yeah, so I wasn't really impressed with the coupled entry from Brown here that much as the favorite. So my top pick came down to 2 other choices. I'm going to go with the 8 Mercante for Bill Mont with Alvarado on top. The horse has definitely improved since switching to the turf earlier this year, and fits in at this level. I mean, I think this is a race that you spread possibly in the pick 4, which means Brown wins easily. But I'm gonna go with the 8 on top.
Jimmy D.
Staying close to home. I can't. I hate to go with the 6-5 shot, but I'll be chalky on this particular move. I like the 1. I'm sorry. I'm very busy. He's got an angle that I love. He's got 6 works on the tab at Saratoga. So he's sitting here. Brown's waited on him. I know he hasn't been out since the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but he's ready to rock. He threw his bullet, then Brown just kind of eases him. He knows he's ready to go. He's supposed to be eating like a pig in the morning. He's rearing, wants to rip up the barn. I kind of like to hear statements like that because when he gets out on that track, I think he's going to run. So I'm unfortunately, I like the chalk in this one.
Yeah, all right, and I'm gonna go. I like the 2 here for Bill Morey. So, switching synthetic to turf, stretching out for the first time. So some stats for him. Morey is 7-4-22 from synthetic to turf, 32%. Now, granted, a lot of those wins were at tracks that are, you would call, I think Jimmy D used the term shit earlier in the so they are. However, let's break it down after I filtered for just the Naira circuit, which included 1 race from Saratoga and 2 races from Aqueduct. He's 3 for 3. He's got 3 of his 7 wins came on the Naira circuit when he goes from synthetic to turf. So the horse exploded last race. I think coming off a big layoff, horse is in great form. There's got to be a reason he's shipping them down from Presque Island. Bill Morey's he's a sharp trainer. He's decent chemist as well. So I'm going to use the 2 Antares. Not sure how to pronounce that one. Jason?
Antares.
Yeah, I actually thought that one of the entries are going to win too. I think both horses are probably better than anything else in the field. But I do like Chalky's horse, and I was thinking about using him for a tournament horse because if you look at it, definitely jumped up, running on turf. Decent value because I think the entries are going to get hammered pretty heavy in the race. So, he would definitely be a horse that I would mess around with. But my top pick, I just think one of Brown's horses is going to win. They might finish 1-2 because that usually happens when he runs entries. But
don't you think there's not besides my horse? I mean, where's the speed? Maybe the 5.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely not a ton of speed in the race. The 5 could definitely.
But he's coming from Ellis Park. He's speed at Ellis Park. I mean, there's no other speed in the race.
No,
you would think the 2 on the rail is going to go to the lead, right?
Yeah,
it's
possible. I mean, the 7 has shown speed before in a synthetic race, but at 7 furlongs. So I don't know. Maybe, and it's Jose. Sometimes he gets aggressive with horses. So I don't know.
That looks like a scratch horse. A word stretching out on the turf looks like that's one he doesn't intend to run.
Maybe not. I don't know.
But yeah, no idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible the 2 gets an easy lead. New York, they choke the horses in turf races, so definitely possible.
I'll stay with you then, Jason. What else besides your top pick? Or you said it, right? You like Chalky's horse as well,
Yeah, I
right?
think Chalky's pick has a lot of value. I like that. I like that horse.
It's interesting. That's a horse that goes from Jose to Alvarado, but Alvarado is kind of Bill Mott's boy. Yeah. Jimmy D, did you have any other thoughts?
I kind of like yours, Tom. And Taris, that's the way I heard it pronounced. I'm not sure how to pronounce that name either. But, it's interesting, these optional claims, non-winners won, other than $149,500 is the purse. When I said they up prices at Saratoga, they also up purses at Saratoga. But it's such a queer thing that, he runs last year for Leslie Ward. He comes back for Bill Murray, who I kind of like. He won 2 on Wednesday, and he had a 91 buyer in that race. And the fact that there's, he could be the lone speed, he could steal it. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think there was a race opening weekend, obviously. One of the rainy days, so not Sunday, the other one. It was off the turf. It was one of these races. There was 3 horses in the field, and they were running for 100 and whatever it was, $25,000 purse.
Tom, I've
And he
asked
had 3
everybody.
horses.
I've been around the game a long time, and I've asked trainers, why don't you enter a race like that? You're paying 4th, 5th place, and it's a pretty good 4th, 5th place when you're divvying up 100,000 or 150,000. I can't get a legitimate answer that I understand, at least. Why someone else wouldn't enter that race.
It's crazy. All right, Chalky. Anywhere else besides the one you picked there?
So my other horse I was looking at as a top pick was the 5 for improving and potential pace scenario. Now I ultimately didn't go with because the Ellis factor is mentioned, but that was the Churchill at Ellis meet. So the horses that were going there were originally run at Churchill, which usually would be a little quiet, a little better stock, but it was a $127,000 allowance race. But I want to pick 5 caveman style. I would go 5 deep here, going 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. So also include the 2 that you mentioned as well.
All right, let's move on to the Coaching Club American Oaks, mile and an eighth. So it is a grade 1 race for the fillies. So we have some horses coming out of the Oaks. Who do we start with last time? Chalky. So Jimmy D, you get the honors of starting with the grade 1 race.
Thank you. 3-year-old fillies, very unpredictable, but I liked one horse a lot until I spoke to a trainer. We sit at L&M. That's a section. That's where the cameras are. And Tom Amos is just the nicest guy in the world. He spends time with you. He's there with Gary Stevens. Unlike the Andy Serlings who are smacked asses, Tom Amos is a nice guy. He loves Hoosier Philly. I love Gambling Girl. I think she passed on the Acorn to run here. She hopes to run in the Alabama. Pletcher's got big hopes for this one. Working great in the morning. I like Gambling Girl in that race, but I'm going to throw a 1-1A at you if I may. So I'll take both ends of it. But I'll put Hoosier Girl in there because Amos loves that horse now. He thinks that horse has regained the form that she had last year. And he always uses that Morales on that horse because he says the horse and Morales get along. Who am I to question Tom Amos? You guys know their stuff. So I'd give you the 4 and 5.
Yeah, and it's kind of same, thinking on the same lines of Amos actually. So Hoosier Philly, I know it's one he loved as a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. Yep. And then she kind of lost her form, but I actually saw it the same way, where I felt like the horse got the form back, and I'm using his thoughts around, how much he loved her in the past, now getting her form back. And she's, again, me and Jason talked about it earlier, and we all talk about it. You're on the dirt. You're going 2 turns, especially. It's Saratoga. Horses don't come from behind very often. So you look for horses up close. And Hoosier Philly is going to be one of those horses. So I had a couple other thoughts, but my top pick was Hoosier Philly as well. Jason?
Yeah, like you said, dirt races, especially at Saratoga, and especially so far in this meet, you just don't come from behind. You have to be up in that first level of horses. So I think Hoosier Philly will be on the lead, and I think South Lawn's going to sit right off of her. I like South Lawn, the one in the Oaks. She had a bad trip. She just didn't run her race in that race. I think Hoosier Philly can win if South Lawn just lets her get out too far. But I think that Giroux will ride right off of her and eventually go by her and win. So I'm gonna take the 1 South Lawn as my pick here.
And Chalky?
South Lawn for me as well. I always love to put horses in the winner's circle. So hearing Amos say that gives me absolutely 100% confidence the horse will not win the race. Who's your filly? Forget it. I'll take South Lawn because she'll be closer to the pace than, say, Wet Paint and Gambling Girl, who probably will have too much to do. So South Lawn, my top pick.
Yeah, see, I just think South Lawn. I mean, she's going to be closer to the second horse to the pace by default, but I don't think she's a terribly fast early filly. I mean, her races that she was on the lead were pretty slow at fairgrounds. So I think she inherits second, and I think that's why Who's Your Philly could just get loose and keep going. But
I mean,
with
look,
that
if Who's Your Philly cuts a 25 opening quarter like she did in that last race, yeah, she very well may win the race if she steals it with that. I don't think she's going to win if she runs any faster than that, which I'm going to expect she has to.
Yeah, see, I don't think it's going to be a very quick pace. But with that said, I do think South Lawn is logical and has a shot. And Gambling Girl was the other horse that, if there is for whatever reason a hot pace, that's the one I would prefer coming off rather than Wet Paint for Cox and Pratt. Jimmy D, so you gave your two, or anywhere else outside of that?
No, South Lawn's got a shot. I could see the points Chalky's making, but I can't see it. I still like Gambling Girl. Like I said, that would have been my number one choice.
All right, and then Jason, bring us home.
In that race, I'm just going to go too deep. I'll use Who's Your Philly because she could sneak away and keep going. But again, I'm in dirt races at Saratoga, and I'm sure I'll lose some races, but for the most part, you got to be close, and that's what I've seen so far in the meet, and I'm going to stick with it for now. So it'll be South Lawn or Who's Your Philly for me.
All right, let's move on to or Chalky. Did you get a chance to give other picks?
The only other horse I'll plan to pick for is the 2.
All right, so let's move on. Race 10, 6 furlong allowance race. Jimmy D, you probably know this has to be our first run back filly or run back horse from a horse that already ran at Saratoga. And wait, who's the trainer? Is it Linda
Rice?
I mean, come on.
It's really funny. Maybe we're thinking alike tonight, but that's my number one pick. I went with the Hot Barn. This wheel back, I've seen it too many times here. She's wheeling back in 6 days, it's ridiculous. But this is a $260,000 purchase. She's 1-for-1 at Saratoga. Rice has got the hot hand. Joel comes right back. Jose comes right back, rather, on this horse. I think she could steal it. She's got speed. It's 10-1 right now, and I hope it stays there.
Yeah, I was, that was a horse that, I was actually going to pick as well. I was actually between two horses, so scratches could play a little bit of a part in this, but I just think there is a lot of speed in the race, and Jose's going to know exactly what to do with this horse, where he did sit off a hot pace in the race, the starter allowance race, and blew by the field. Win for Gold, who I think was another Linda Rice horse that ran second in that race. But yeah, so I just see a lot of speed. Now there's definitely a wild card, and there's a horse that comes off the pace and probably the best horse, but I have a stat we'll go through in a second. And I had a couple others, but yeah, Talking Pharaoh was my top pick as well. Chalky?
My top pick is the 2, Talking Pharaoh. So I don't think you're getting 10-1, Jim, unfortunately. I mean, just everything you guys talked about. It's the second weekend of the meet, and she's wheeling back, and she's been hot. And, Cretive, if he comes off the year layoff, is probably the most talented horse in the race. I have no interest in the Rudy horse, the 6, but at 10-1, if we get close to that, yeah, I'll take a shot on the 2 as the top choice. She's got the hot hand.
Jason?
Yeah, I'm going to be chalky here. I just think Accredited is just a better horse. I mean, that horse is very highly thought of last summer. I don't know what the layoff was for. I'm sure some kind of injury, but if he comes back in any form of what he was thought to be, I just think he, especially if there's speed in this race, he's going to win the race. That's just my thoughts here. I do think there's a decent amount of speed in this race, and I know I say I always want horses that are close to the pace. I don't think this horse will be too far away from the pace, but he'll definitely, be in his second level and not be too far. And if there is speed, I think he's going to win.
Yeah, I will. Here's the stat. So Brown bringing horses back off a 180-day layoff. He's 25% when it comes to dirt. Not surprising there. He's 29% in when he brings these dirt horses back in allowance races. Not surprising, but he's 22% at the spa. So just adding that to it. But he's 0 for 4 when he runs these horses as the favorite. So take that for what it is. Because it's a small sample size, obviously,
Yeah.
but you got to think when he runs the horses as the favorite, it's because they're his bigger horses. So maybe he doesn't have those. This is a prep race for something that's going to be, a graded race down the road at Saratoga, opposed to, bringing them back in a lounge race. Again, though, the purse is huge, like Jimmy D said, but I mean, that was just a stat. So I said I had 2 horses and I went with the 2. The other one, well, I actually like a lot. And the more I look, I definitely could see playing prominently was the 7. Who, that's me. A horse coming off the pace for Jorge Abreu. A horse that found some form recently. Yeah, coming back in 2023, coming off one of his best races of his career. Just if you're looking in the buyer department, not the best, but one of the best. So coming into form, Dylan Davis off the pace in a race that looks like it has a lot of speed. The 7 was one of the other picks, and a sneaky horse was the 4. Chris Engelhardt. He always seems to win a couple races at Saratoga every year, and they always pay pretty well. From playing the tournament, I've noticed that in the past. So, he's speed, and this is a race that definitely has speed. But I did think there was a little value playing against the 6 because at morning line of 2-1, if you get around that price, I did not like that horse at all. So that could be where the value is. Jimmy D.
You guys covered it with a credit. I that would have been my second choice. I mean, he chased Jack Christopher. He chased Goodnight. Practical joke out of the Into Mischief, sired by Into Mischief. They've been very, very successful. I don't like the fact he was 1 year away, but I do like, and I'll repeat this: 6 works on the tab at Saratoga. It's just an angle that's successful.
Chalky.
Yeah, 8's the only other horse I would use here, and I think I might have been thinking along the same lines as you, Thomas. I saw this as if he runs well here, then he runs back in the Forgo on Travers Day, which would be grade 1. So kind of give this as a test.
I don't. But what I'm saying is, I don't think he has to run well here to run him back in that race. I think
No.
get his legs wet.
I mean, if he runs completely up the track, then there's no chance. But he wants to get a race into him and kind of see what he does. I think. So 8's the only one I would use in the multis.
Jason.
Yeah, I'm just going to single the 8. I'm not using anyone else.
All right, so let's finish off this pick 4 and put a bow on the show. Saratoga Race 11 commences at 6:52 Eastern Time. Seem like they get later and later. So you don't see this much. They tend to finish on the turf in New York, but they are finishing on the dirt. It's a $25,000 6-furlong claiming race, and the favorite in this race is no other than Mrs. Linda Rice. So, Jason, do you have any thoughts here?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier to you, Tom, I'm just very chalky in this sequence. I just think Linda Rice is dropping horses into this race to win the race. So, you brought to my attention that Jose is listed on both horses, both of her entries. So one of them will scratch, but I don't think it matters. I think whichever one runs is going to win. She's just dropping in to get wins. So I'm going to go with the entry.
Yeah, she's dropping off a voided claim. You never know what the hell to do with that either. That's another one that you just have no.
But she's so shady, and she's just trying.
Yeah, it's just a total. Oh, and I've seen her win those many times.
Yeah.
Voided claim dropping horses. So, like I said, that doesn't. And then the other one, yeah, she claims for 50,000, and Churchill puts them on the shelf for a couple months, and then runs back for half the price, which is not an angle that you would typically say is a successful proposition when trainers are claiming and dropping immediately. But
Yeah.
big purses, and it's Linda Rice, and I saw a horse on, I think it was last Sunday, do the same move and win the race. So,
Yeah.
that's just what it is. I was actually, I mean, you can't really talk bad about that, but my top pick was senior Jobim, with Franco, David Jacobson, and Franco going to sit a little bit off. Ran one of his best races again late in his career here. Um, it's the second start now for Jacobson. He's going off of Vargas to Franco, so you're getting a nice jockey upgrade there. Um, so that's where I went. Jimmy D.
I like the favorite also. He's going to have the lead. He's going to be tough to catch. But this race really should have been named Why You Should Never Buy a Racehorse. If you look at some of the prices of these horses in this race, 140,000, 250,000, you go on and on, 90,000, 150,000, 650,000, and it's a $25,000 claiming race. I know these are a little bit older, these horses, but my Lord, if I purchased a horse for 600,000 and he's in a $25,000 claim and he's only made a couple 100,000, I don't think that's a very prudent investment. But I do like the one. Again, it's the hot stable. Again, she's going to be on the lead. Shortens up a little bit to 6 furlongs from the 6.5. I think she's loose on the lead and wins.
Chalky.
You certainly can't ignore the Rice horses here. And if I knew that the 1A was definitely the one that would stay in, I would probably just go there. How many times can you get it into mischief for 25,000? What Jimmy was saying.
Really?
But I landed on the 8 Digital Future for Handel and Davis. If you look at his form, he's run at some of those high level allowance races, but when you look at these level races, he's right there, and he runs a race that, in theory, would win at this level, aside from any other shady antics that some of these other trainers might pull. So I think it's a little bit of a spread for me here, only because I don't know which Rice will get in, although you respect both. But I'll make the 8 my top choice at 8-1.
All right, Jason, did you have anything else besides the Rice horse in this one?
No, like I said, I'm the chalk eating weasel on this podcast.
Yeah, we didn't really need you for this segment.
Very
chalky. Jimmy D.
I'll give you one. Chalky knows this guy, Joe Carlin. He's just a crazy old jockey. And he comes in, and when he's in there, he knows these guys. He calls them the Turks because he can't pronounce their names. I can't pronounce their names either. But I'm going to give you the 2, Bronx Bomber. In races like this, on the last race of the day, you get your Thorograph or your Rags or your DRF, and you throw them right out the window because you're always going to have an inexplicable horse win the race. These guys won 3 races up here with absolutely huge prices. He's here with this horse. If I'm going to just spread a little bit in this race, I'm going to include that 30-1 shot.
Yeah, that's a great one. The one for me, the Rice horse, obviously. Chalky's horse, actually, also we're going to use for the reasons that he said when this horse runs at this level, it's been competitive. So, I don't know if Rice is a slam dunk, but I do think we'll see. I do think she's gonna probably have a heavy hand. I even thought the 9, the Gustavo Rodriguez. He's a sneaky trainer. I know he hasn't been great as of late, but he hit a big horse for me last year at Saratoga at a big price. So he knows how to claim them. And again with these races too, that there looks like speed. It's a claiming race, but then for whatever reason, only one horse goes out to the lead and. Kind of just wins wire to wire. So they're very tough races. I got to imagine this is the bottom level for Saratoga.
Yeah.
16,000, I think.
Do they run 16?
Yeah, I hate to see that run on a Saturday. My God.
Well, yeah, they have 25. Chalky, finish it off. Anywhere else before we close this out?
Yeah, so the Rice definitely include. I also I'm throwing in the 4. Just call Ray. Had a couple starter allowance wins down in Kentucky, coming up here and now dropping. The 6 Seven Nation Army. Irad's on board, and Theodoro has not been suspended recently yet in New York. And also Tommy's 7.
Are you using horses that aren't running on this track as well? For that are running at other tracks, are you throwing them into this race?
I'm there. I got 5.
The first race you had 5 as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
What's your ticket? Yeah, I want to hear how much.
I can give you my ticket right now. We can go right into that.
The caveman ticket.
Caveman ticket. 50 cent. Pick 5 or pick 4. Excuse me.
$485.
Race 8, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. Race 9, 1, 2. Race 10, 2, 8. Race 11, 1, 4, 6, 7, 8 for a 50-cent bet. That's a $50 ticket.
All right. Yeah, it does seem like it would be more, but not my style of play, but I respect it. Jason, you're one by one. What's your ticket?
I mean, I'll throw that 8 in the first leg. So 1-8 with 1-5. I'll throw Hoosier Philly in with South Lawn. But then I'm singling Brown, Acrative, and then I'm singling Rice. So for 50 cents, it's $2.
Jimmy D, did you have a ticket or did you have a play for the
I
Friday, Saturday? You always have some horse. You talk to this trainer or that trainer.
Yeah, it's still early in the season, Tom, so I constructed a ticket in the 8th, the 1-2-5 with the 4-5, with the 2-8 with the 1-2-7 11. It's for 50 cents. Pick 4, it'd be $24 ticket.
But no, you don't have any tipped horses for coming up the either Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Amos's horse.
Yeah, but one we didn't cover. On one of the races we didn't cover.
One that might actually win their race.
I like tomorrow, but see, tomorrow's such a rain out type of day.
Yeah, that one's.
I love Liguori in the Lake George tomorrow, but it's coming off. It's a turf race.
Yeah,
and
you can't. Yeah,
most likely. So I'm going to be talking nonsense.
I know it's going to rain hard, but especially with the graded stakes, like they tried till every last second to keep those on, right?
Last week they tried with that race that you knew was coming off the turf.
Because if they have to take it off 2 years in a row, then it's dropping in graded status. So not to say it won't, but they will wait till the last second before they actually have to take that off.
That sprint race last week,
the Lucky Coin,
or was it Sunday? Yeah.
Yeah,
the one with there was a Ward horse there. Yeah, I forget what it was. No, I think it had a real.
Or was it was it?
Yeah, it was like a no name stakes race. They took it off midway through the card because it had like a monsoon midway through.
That was Sunday, right?
Yeah,
it was
Sunday. Yeah, they had the other turf races off and they kept that one on, and then it came off before I think the pick 5 started. But it came. You knew it was going to come off, but they waited.
It was, the quick call.
The quick call, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, quick call.
I think the Lucky Coin is now the Harvey Pack. They switched the name.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, but no, it's the quick call for sure. So yeah, they do.
I'll never forgive Harvey Pack, Chalky. I'll never forgive him. He created Andy Serling. I'll never forgive him.
Well, him and Andy Byer.
Yeah. All right, episode 64, Broad Street Hustle. We did a little double take this week. We'll be back to our normal programming next week. Saratoga
might have to lay off till Friday next week. I don't know. I'm going to need a freshening.
Yeah, this is a lot of this is a long one too. So hopefully we can give out some winners this week because last week there wasn't many, but maybe Casa. So, all right, everybody have a great night.
Take care, guys.